Well, 2020 is all but gone, but there was one movie I was able to squeeze in called Alone, and I think it's definitely worth discussing, so let's do this. Alone stars Jules Wilcox, Mark Mancheka, and is directed by John Hiams. What is up, guys? It's time for another brand new 2020 review, even though this might be 2021. I don't know. Right now, as I record this, I'm like at December 22nd. So hopefully I get this out before the end of the year. But if not, no worries. But at least I can squeeze it into my top 10 best horror movies. I would consider this horror. Not real. It's more of a thriller, but I will still put it in the horror category for top 10 of the year. That doesn't mean it's going to make the list. I'll have to look at my letterbox and see, okay? It's still fresh on my brain, but definitely worth discussing. I have to give a quick shout out to Jason Mongold. He is the one that told me about this movie. He said you definitely have to check it out, and I'm glad he did.
I know fear when I see it. It's all in the eyes. People think they can hide it, but they can't.
This is a genre that has been covered quite a few times. You know, I guess the road trip and then the captivity. I guess a mixture of two types of genres. Matter of fact, I just saw a movie called Rust Creek that I didn't even bother reviewing. It's decent. It's okay. Nothing great. And I think that one came out like a couple years ago. But this is pretty new, actually. So before we get into what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, let's give you a quick plot synopsis. Our main character, Jessica, she is widowed. Her husband just died. And so she's packing up her belongings and she's heading across country to stay with her parents. I think she's staying with her parents. She's talking to her parents along the way. I know that. But along the way, this guy, which they called the man, he's never given a name. I call him the stalker. He's just always there. You know, he's just always there knocking on her window. Sometimes he'll be like, 10 feet from her. Sometimes he'll be like right there at her window. And he's just constantly a thorn in her side. But he's not like provoking her, at least not at first. You know, he's trying to be friendly. But he's doing that whole like Buffalo Bill thing. Can you help me with my car? Can you help me get out of trouble here?
I'm sorry, I've got to go.
It's just gonna take a minute.
I've got to go, I'm late for a meeting. I'm sorry.
Which is a heavy calling card for like serial killers. And so right away, you're not buying it. Immediately, I started picking this movie apart because we've seen these movies time and time again, and we always think that the character is going to make a really dumb, stupid decision. But to the movie's credit, every time she was presented with a confrontation with this man, and there was quite a few times, right away I thought to myself, I would do this in that situation. And she does. She does the right thing every step of the way for the most part. I mean, sure, there's not just one right thing that you can do, but for the most part, she's not, completely stupid about her decisions. She thinks about what she's doing to get herself out of the situation, and she does. But I think what's great about this movie, it's just a lesson in you can do everything right and still get caught, still, be kidnapped and be in peril. So the first half of this movie, it's kind of like The Hitcher. I was drawing comparisons to The Hitcher because the man, the stalker, he's just constantly following her. But then there's a point in the movie where she does get captured, and so the movie turns into a different type of animal. It becomes more of a survival flick. And you'll see when you're watching the movie too, it's kind of broken up into sections. Like they'll have like these titles for each chapter of the movie. I think there's like 5 titles or something like that. One's called like The Road, one's called The Rain, The River. And it just separates the movie quite well, actually. Now, the second half of this movie, I was having problems with along the way just because it does drag a little bit. She is in the woods, and the stalker, he is provoking her constantly. There is this one scene that I actually love where he's in the woods, she's hiding, it's raining, and he's telling her that I know actually what happened to your husband. He listens along the way and he finds out what happens to her husband. And so it's one of those fight or flight moments. Are you gonna stand up and are you gonna actually fight for your life? Or are you just gonna cower and not do anything and just die. Because let's face it, some people would probably do that. Some people would probably say, I'm beaten. What else can I do? I've pretty much accepted my fate, my death. From this point on, I really loved this movie because, you know, a movie like this could end so many different ways. And in my head, I had the way that would be cliche and predictable. And okay, it's a movie that I gave an hour and a half of my life to and I'll never watch again. Luckily, they had some good writers on this because the ending was glorious. Like, I loved, without going into any spoilers, how this character dealt with the situation. I will say there is a like fist pump moment that was awesome. I really want to talk about it, but I can't because I don't want to spoil anything. But I'll just say I was very freaking happy with the ending. I was just loving how Jessica made her decision to take a stand. And that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say anything else, okay? I just love how Jessica dealt with this situation, and I'm being very careful because I don't want to give anything away, but I think you guys will definitely dig this movie. I thank you guys for constantly telling me about these movies that I would never even think about and that need to get out there to the public. And so thank you, Jason, for telling me about this movie. I'm gonna give it a high humdrum because there are some predictable, some slow moments throughout, but overall still very enjoyable, okay? It almost gets to a purchase worthy, but I'm gonna give it a high humdrum. But another example too was like Look Away. That's a movie that I saw just browsing Amazon Prime and just fell in love with the movie. And that's a review that's already recorded. It's gonna come out after this. I haven't even put that review out yet, but I'm already seeing like a lot of people on like Killer Flicks and on Twitter saying, hey, thank you for telling me about Look Away. I never even knew this movie existed, and it's really great. And you know, that's what you want as a reviewer, as a YouTuber, you know, to get the word out. You know, if anything, if we can get the word out to 3 other people about how good a movie is, then I think our job is done. And I'm patting myself on the back, but I'm patting Jason on the back too because he told me about this. And now I'm telling you guys, check out Alone for sure. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.